Welcome to the Quantum Body Podcast, where transformation isn't just skin deep. We blend manifestation with functional health so you can heal your body, shift your mindset, create the life and body you actually want.
Hosted by two functional health coaches and self healing rebels, this podcast is your space to learn how to regulate your nervous system, rebalance your hormones, and rewire your reality. Each week, we're going to dive into the root causes of weight loss resistance, hormone havoc, stress, and inflammation, and how to shift your body from stuck to responsive. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but nothing is changing, this is the show for you. We believe that healing is multidimensional, and so are you.
Yes, this podcast is obviously for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical condition, nor is it a substitute for personalized medical advice from a licensed provider.
Yay. We're
Oh, I'm
back,
so glad to be
bitches. We're
back.
back.
There's so much to talk about.
I know we've been on such a hiatus. Like life just smacked us in the face for sure.
There's been so much.
So
So,
much.
I
Yeah.
mean, we've had a lot. We've had a lot because it was before like your attack, before my prep, before a lot. Where do
Yeah.
we begin?
Yeah. I don't know because it would have been June. The before May. May was our last
Kind
the
of
last
like
time we
just
recorded.
starting contest prep, right?
Yeah, you had just started
We talked
prep.
about it a little bit.
I think so. So why don't we start there? Tell everybody how your show went.
It went well. We went into it with the objective of um qualifying for nationals. And we really kind of talked about kind of hanging around like that 90%. So like not, doing anything too aggressive or too extreme and seeing how I stack up in the NPC because my last couple of shows have been PCA. And I ended up winning my class. And then I missed the overall. The one that won the overall was phenomenal. I love her. She was so much fun. She just had like this electric energy on stage and she was so fun. But so that said, we qualified for nationals, and yeah, so we did what we set out to do, which was good. And it was nice to be on stage because I saw that I think sometimes we get in our own head and we feel like, oh, I'm never going to be big enough, or I'm never going to be, comparable. And so it was nice to like be on stage next to athletes that I would consider competitive in the wellness space and see just kind of like, like my size is close. Like I'm not as far off as like mentally I think I am sometimes.
Yeah, which is huge. It's nice to like go into kind of like a warm-up show and just get your feet wet, especially being NPC instead of PCA, see how you stack up, see how it feels. And you had some really cool opportunities post-show, like Las Vegas Swim
I
Week.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too. So, I've been doing a lot of photo shoots. I moved to Florida from New York, and it's just um I think that there's a lot more kind of opportunities in like the modeling kind of space, which I've never really experienced before. And so I'd been doing a few different photo shoots and sharing them on Instagram. And I had this media company reach out to me and they were like, hey, like we would love to start working with you for swim weeks. And there's one in California and there's one in Vegas, there's one in Miami. And it was like, too bad it's so close. It's this weekend. Like I would have paid for you to come out and walk in swim week. And I was like, I'm like a mom. I don't even know what swim week is. And I was like, well, I was like, listen, if you like, he like told me a little bit about it and he's like, well, you have to cast, like you like audition basically, and then like different designers decide like, oh yeah, I like her body. I want her to represent my swimsuits on the runway. And he's like, I'm confident that you'll get casted. And he's like, I'll pay for you to come out and you can stay in the hotel room with the other models that I'm having come. And so I did. Long story tolerable. He bought my plane ticket and I was spontaneous AF. I found out about it on a Wednesday and I was in Vegas on Friday. And it was wild. The whole experience was freaking wild. Like living the model life is not for the bodybuilders. Like, but I held my own and I got casted by two different designers, which was really, really fun. And I thought it was a cool experience because it also gave me more stage time. And like
Yeah.
something like I didn't feel like I was being like critiqued like every transition. Like it was just more like posing and fun. And like I struggle a little bit with stage fright. And so I thought it was really going to help with that, which it did. So I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. To tie this back to like manifestation, something you and I talked about like last week or a couple days ago, I can't remember, is how much you visualize your body and what you want to achieve, right? Like you
Yeah.
spend time daily visualizing the body you want to create, the body that you want to have, how your body responds to food, how your body responds in general. So I think that'd be like really cool to touch on just because I think that's a game changer for people because most people are thinking negative thoughts about their body. Most people are sitting there going, I hate my body. I'm in a body that is unresponsive. It's a struggle for me to lose weight. Everything I eat turns to fat. I can't eat anything, blah, blah, blah. Whereas you've spent a lot of time really cultivating a positive inner monologue. And I think that's what most people need to do.
I really do think that changed a lot for me this year. And I mean, we've talked about it quite a few times, but if you look back at my pictures from 2024 this time to, now this year, my body is totally different, like totally different. And I talk about it a lot because I feel like a lot of it has to do with that inner monologue and the words that you're telling yourself. And when you realize that you're the creator of your reality, you really take the words that you're using so much more seriously. And I saw somebody post recently and they're like, witches call it spells, and Catholics call it prayer, and spiritual people call it manifestation. And like, I just feel like the words that you use are rewiring your subconscious, and your subconscious is in the driver's seat. Like it's doing the most. And so even like I will even go as far as to predict what my scale is going to be, like to the ounce, and I'm right. Like it happens more times than not. And so the process I guess that I use is before I go to bed, when like right before I'm like drifting off into sleep is where I think I do my most powerful kind of manifestation. And I've always done that with like sales or business or whatever. And so this year I really kind of did it with my body. And so I would just like repeat things that I wanted to see happen. And, for example, post competition, I wanted to, really be able to grow muscle and maintain a good physique, because post competition for me is always, my physique has always gotten sloppy. I've lost my confidence. My body tends to like hold on to every little calorie, and like I would do like small little increments of food and I would still like follow my plan to a T, but like my scale was like jumping up like 5 pounds a week every contest I've ever done. And it's always been like this crazy whiplash for me. And so part of my kind of like dialogue that I tell myself before I fall asleep is my calories are going right to my muscles. I'm maintaining my leanness, and every bite that I eat is going to my glutes. Like, and like just kind of constantly changing this dialogue. But then too, I'm visualizing myself on stage, confident, having the best freaking time, and in the physique of my dreams constantly. And so I do think that it is powerful, and it makes such a big difference. And then too, it becomes addictive, because if you go to bed and you're like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna weigh, whatever it is, 150.5. And you wake up and you weigh 150.5, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm powerful as shit. Like, let's do that again. Like, it
Yeah.
becomes like this crazy thing. And then you really start to kind of hone in on just how in control you really are and how much your thoughts impact your entire physiology and biology and everything.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what epigenetics is, right? Like your thoughts literally create your reality. And if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're turning on stress hormones, you're turning on, all of the negative shit in your body. And if you're thinking the positive thoughts, you can be turning on healing. And so your thoughts really do change your body. And it's funny when we were talking about this the other day, it made me reflect on what is the story I'm telling myself around my body. And we have to remember, like a lot of these stories, they didn't come from us. They came from when we were kids, what our parents said. I remember my mom, she was always concerned about her weight and losing weight. And, that creates a narrative in your head without you even knowing it. And I think back to like my competition days. I mean, before I ever was into manifestation or anything like that, I remember I had to work harder than most people to drop the weight, right? I had to drop to lower calories. I had to do more cardio. Um, when it was my off season, I was never one of those people that was eating 400 grams of carbs or anything like that, right? Like I had to be way more moderate. I was very blessed. I grew like a weed. That is like one of my gifts is I grow muscle very, very easily, but I also gain body fat very easily as well. And so it was always that fine line in the balance. But in us talking about it, it made me reflect like how much of that was a story that I picked up from somebody telling me it's going to be hard and me internalizing that it's going to be hard. How much of it is a story that I picked up of someone saying carbs make you fat and me internalizing that I'm never going to be the person who gets to eat a lot of carbs and maintain a lean physique, right? And so that really clicked for me. And it's like, oh my God, I have all these stories around my body, how hard it is for me to lose weight, what I can eat, what I can't eat, how my body responds. Like I have all of these stories that were really never mine to begin with, but I've been having those thoughts cycling through my head for decades now.
Right.
And so it becomes up to me to change that story, to start visualizing, okay, for me it gets to be easy. For me, every ounce of food that I eat doesn't cause me to gain body fat, right? Like you can absolutely change how your body navigates exercise, food, training, whatever, right? Like your thoughts create your reality.
It's so true. So true. And I think too, it's really important to remember that you spent decades picking up on these subconscious stories. So just starting or committing to a practice of doing it for a week, like that's not going to erase decades and decades. Like it's got to be, a constant focus on, for months at a time. And it takes some commitment. There's some level of commitment there. But for me, like even after my show, I would, kind of drift off to sleep and I would say things like I can eat what I want, my composition keeps improving. I'm going to double my calories, my composition's going to get better and better. Like, and it sounds crazy, but that's what's fucking happening right now. Like
Yeah. And
I
it's not
have
crazy though, because whatever you believe is your reality.
I mean, to the normies, it sounds
Yeah.
crazy. But like we're gonna get some comments on this podcast. Like these ladies are nuts.
Yeah.
But
But it's
but
so
you're not our
true.
people, and that's fine.
Yeah. And I mean, this is why I tell all of my clients, I'm like, you have to change your mental diet, right? Like, you have to change that story that you're telling yourself. Every time that thought comes into your head saying, no matter what I do, I can't lose the weight, or
This
um,
is for me.
yeah, this is so hard for me. Oh, I struggle sticking to a diet. Oh, I can never lose weight. Like whatever it is, everybody has those negative thoughts. Like every time you think one of those, you have to be aware enough to catch it and reframe it. Like tell yourself, no, that's the old story. It is easy for me. But that's the thing is like most of these thoughts, people aren't paying attention to. They're going through your head
You have to train
constantly.
yourself to pay attention to
Yeah.
it.
You actually have to
Your
start
brain is so
paying
sneaky, you
attention
don't
to
even
that voice.
realize. You don't even realize how shitty you talk about yourself or your situation or your life or your finances or your body or your health until
Yeah.
you're actually like really paying attention. And then once you think you're paying attention, you're not. You got to go even deeper. And so, but once you get there, it's really, really cool. And it becomes really fun when you realize that you're in control of everything. Like
Yeah.
you're in control of everything. And how you show up is up to you. I just had this conversation with one of my clients, and she's a BAAACK client. She had started with me at one point and had significant weight to lose, had some gut health issues. We did a GI map. She struggled to like stick to protocols. Then she had some travel, and then like it was like back to back, like, oh, but this happened, but this happened, but this happened. And then she ended up ending her subscription with me. And then she came back about 30 days ago. And she had sent me a message last night, and she was like, you know what? She was like, you're so right, because like what we're saying to ourselves changes everything. She was like, I no longer have the 24/7 food noise. I'm not battling with like, you know, I can't do this. And she was like, I've never had this momentum. And I just keep telling myself, like, this is normal for me. This is my new normal. And I mean, she's down a significant amount of weight. I would have to look to get the exact, and we're not in a fat loss phase. Like she's
Yeah.
recomping and cleaning up digestion, creating some good boundaries and habits. We are only doing 3 workouts a week that are very light, half an hour. And she's dropping weight like it's her literal job. And she's like, this, I'm telling myself that that's what's going to happen. And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's
that's
just
that's what
different this
it
time.
takes.
And I was like, because you're showing up as her right now. You're not
Yeah.
waiting until you become her to then, embody it. You're embodying it right now. And we had this whole conversation last night, and it was so powerful. And she was like, I literally have chills.
Yeah. And that's such a big point is like the embodying as hers now, right? Because most people are like, when I get to that goal, when I lose the 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds, I'm going to show up as that person, right? I'm going to be her, but that's not how it works. You have to be her to become that person.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's something that most people don't get. And I think that's why a lot of people rebound too, right? Because they're not becoming her. They're doing these habits and they're doing these things, but they know once they get to this goal, they want to go back to the habits they had prior to starting whatever they did, right? And that's why they
Right.
rebound. And if you were actually her, it wouldn't be temporary. You're just her.
Right. Right. And that part, because people are so fixated on, oh, I'm gonna give this 6 months. I'm gonna give this 3 months. Like I have clients that sign up, and if they utter those words of like, I'm gonna take a 6-month package because I'm going to give this 6 months, I'm like, this isn't the right fit for you.
Yeah, you're setting
Or
yourself
not
up for failure.
because you're gonna need longer than 6 months, but because if you're so fixated on what happens at the end of that 6 months, or like you're only gonna give yourself 6 months, and then what? And then what? You're gonna roll over and die? You're gonna give up? Like I don't what happens at the end of 6 months?
Yeah. And that's the thing is like I had this one client and very like we're coming to the end of our first 6 months together, and I think she kind of had that like mindset as well, and it was like, oh well, I want to see significant changes in that 6 months, but that this first 6 months has been her getting out of her own way. So
Yeah.
like a lot of people, it takes time. Life is going to happen, it's going to smack you upside the head, there's going to be things that derail you, and you're going to stumble. That's normal, that's life. But we've constantly been going like 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards, 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards, because she's fighting her own subconscious brain, right? When you
Mhm.
try to make big changes, your subconscious mind is going to fight you because it wants to keep you safe, and to it, safe is what is normal. And so
Yep.
that's when the self-sabotage comes into play. That's when, limiting beliefs comes to play. That's when really dealing with the mental demons has to come out and come to play. And so it's not uncommon that in that first 6 months, you're just finding your stride. Not everybody's going to hit the gates running. Like a lot of people, they struggle a lot in that first little window before they finally are like, okay,
Lifestyle. Yeah.
yeah,
And two, I mean, you see it as much as I do. People come to us with this like all or nothing mentality, where
yeah,
they're like, I'm gonna give this my everything and I'm gonna be perfect. And then when they're not perfect, then it's like all of a sudden the negative self-talk and like the, the doubt and the dread and like this is never going to work for me and I'm not good enough and like all of this crazy negative self-talk. And we find ourselves constantly reminding people that like no, this is your new lifestyle. It's not going to work if it's all or nothing. Like
Yeah.
I always give the example, if you're driving to Disneyland or Disney World in Florida and you've got to go south to get to Florida and you're driving and somewhere along the way you take a wrong turn and you're going west, you're not going to say, oh, well, screw it. I'm going to go all the way until I get to the opposite coast and then
Yeah.
I'll rebound. You're also not going to say, okay, kids, let's go back home and we'll leave again on Monday. You're going to pull over,
Yeah.
you're going to look at the map, you're going to rechart. You're going to get there an hour or two later, but you're still going to get there. You're just going to correct course and get back on your, like, that's how you have to look at this too, is, if you fall off, that's going to happen. Everybody has, stuff that happens that derails them, but it's all about how quickly you can correct course and get back to your baseline and not hyper fixate on the, oh my God, I'm a failure because I wasn't perfect.
Yeah, and that's big. Also, like, I had a client who just went she had started with me. We had about like 2 months together. She was feeling so good. She's like, I already feel like my clothes are looser, things, are moving in the right direction. And then she went on vacation and then just stopped everything on vacation. And it's like, okay, that's what needs to change. Because, like, if you treat every vacation as, or every not perfect day as like, okay, well, it just doesn't matter. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck, like, then it's not a lifestyle. For me
Yeah.
and for you, nothing changes when I'm on vacation. Like, I may have to eat out more, but I'm still tracking my macros. I'm still making sure I'm getting in enough protein, enough fiber, enough water. Like, this is my lifestyle. Nothing changes whether I'm at home or I'm somewhere else. And so, like, why is it that every time somebody goes on vacation or something happens, like, or even they get sick and everything just gets thrown out the window? And it's like, but why?
Or anything that's out of the, like, their cousin is in the hospital, their
Yeah.
auntie had a baby, their brother got married, it
Yeah.
becomes like they,
Somebody came to visit.
right. And so it's really difficult because I always tell everybody, like, you have to make sure that your goals align with the amount of output that you're willing to put in. Otherwise, you're going to always be disappointed. And if you're always going to be disappointed, you're never going to be motivated to stick to anything. You need that high of the wins. You need to stack some wins, and then it creates the momentum, and then it creates the confidence. And then you're like, okay, this is me, baby.
Yeah.
But if you're telling yourself, I want to have shredded six-pack abs, but you also want date night once a week with your husband, you also won't stop drinking alcohol, you also sleep 5 hours, a night, and you also want to have freedom, and you also don't want to, eat the same food 7 days a week, then it's like, okay, but is abs a realistic goal for you at this point? No, it's not. How about we feel really good in our clothes and that's the goal, because that we can make happen with some moderation and with, all of the things. But
Yeah.
having that goal align with what you're willing to do is so important. Otherwise, you're just so disappointed all the time. And like I want to look like you, but I don't want to live your lifestyle. I don't want to be as strict as you are. I want to have way more freedom and I still want to have date night and drink my alcohol.
Yeah. And yeah, that's such a big thing. And I think also, um, defining what moderation is a big thing,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I just have something every day. And it's like,
Yes.
hey, that's not moderation, right? Like, if we think of the 80-20 rule and like take a
Oh,
month, right? Take a month as being
I hate when people do the
100%.
80/20 because they're like, I only vary 20% a day. And I'm like, ah!
I'm like, and that's the thing. And like and that's a lot of people. They're like, oh, but it was like just one meal a day, or it was just one treat a day, or it was just one snack a day. And I'm like, that is not 80-20.
Yeah.
80-20 is if you're a month is your 100%. 80% of that is like that leaves you 4 or 5, let's say, treats outside of your normal. That's not meals necessarily. That's not 4 or 5 days. That's 4 or 5 outside, let's say your macros or however you want to look at it, right? Like that's 4 or 5 not perfect moments. And like
Right.
that's what moderation is, right? Moderation is being on point most of the time. And that doesn't mean you have to be super strict or super perfect or anything like that, but that's also defining that you're not having a chocolate bar every day or alcohol
And
every day or
yeah, and two, that kind of comes back to like, are your goals aligning with what you're willing to do? Because
yeah,
your moderation might look different than my moderation, might look different than client A's moderation, right? Where for me, I like to get my caloric intake to a place where I can have, 2,800 or 3,200 calories a day. I like to eat. I'm a big eater. I like food. I'm a foodie. So for me, I know that if my macros or my calories are down at 1,400, that's not going to be sustainable for me. And so moderation for me from 1,400, I'm going to blow that out. Right.
yeah,
And so taking the time to create a lifestyle around things that you know are key for you. Like
yeah,
I have one girl and she's like, I have to go to Starbucks every single day. I'm like, okay, well then we need to find a recipe that works for your taste buds, but also works for your meal plan. It's a give and take. Can you get a full 500 calorie pumpkin spice latte every single day? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Once a week you can, but until then, this is what we're gonna do.
yeah,
And maybe we'll get a sugar-free vanilla with some cinnamon powder. Or maybe you'll get, whatever, but you've got to also be really realistic with things that are key in your lifestyle that you're not willing to really bend on. And if you know you're not going to be happy with certain things long term, you've got to voice them so that way we can, help create a
yeah,
program and live with long term.
exactly, exactly. Also, I think more people should be comfortable with not drinking their calories, period.
To me, that's such a waste. And I think because
Yeah,
I like
I can't get behind it.
like
I just can't.
every
It's just
time every time my coach puts a protein shake in my plan, I'm like, damn it, that could have been a half a breast of chicken.
yeah. I
Like
don't
I could
like,
have ate that. Like,
yeah. And like, I don't mind shakes
and,
so much.
and
They
that's
serve
even
their
with a shake, but
purpose.
I like to eat. I don't want
Me
to drink
too.
calories.
And like, I would never, ever go to Starbucks and be like, I want a pumpkin spice latte. All I can think is like, that's literally a chicken breast and a cup of rice and like
That's a
that's a
full cookie.
meal.
That's like one of those stacked cookies. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I am a bougie latte lover. I love me some flavored lattes. And I used to be the person that was going to order lattes once a day because I was traveling all the time and I wasn't really, it was like before I was super conscious. And then once I realized, like, holy mother of God, this is like 600 calories. And it like I was finishing it in 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
and so then you realize, like, okay, I can make some swaps and substitutions. You can do almond milk. You can, maybe do a skim milk. You can do sugar-free syrups. You could do cinnamon instead of like a flavor shot. There's so many different ways where you could still kind of like scratch that itch, but not spend all of your calorie resources on a drink.
See, and for me, like, I don't know. I guess before I started competing, I was never like a Starbucks girly. So I never really had that frame of reference. I did used to drink my coffee with cream. And then when I started competing, my coach, because she was very old school and very strict, it was like black coffee and that's it. And so then I
Yeah.
just got to liking black coffee. And so now, like, a treat for me is like putting cream in my coffee. And I
I
mean,
was
I only drink
talking with another
decaf now
competitor. I
too.
was like, when you
So
get that almond milk back in your coffee.
yeah. Yeah. And so to me, I never got into that whole latte, pumpkin spice, all of that shit. And like now I tried one,
My
I
dream.
think it was one year after a competition, I tried a pumpkin spice latte because I wanted to see what the hype was about. And I just don't do sugar anymore either, right? So it was so fucking sweet that I'm like, I'm out. I
And
can't.
two, you know what else too? So for us latte drinkers, there's like 50% of the time you get it and it's not good.
That's any treat though. Any
And so
treat.
it's like it's not even good, and you're still drinking 5 to 800 calories, and it wasn't even good. And there was so many times where I was like, oh well, I spent $8 on this, so I'm not going to throw it away. And then
Yeah,
I would drink the 6 or 700 calories just because I spent the money on it. Like what? What?
I
I
know.
am appalled. And so now you should see my kitchen. I think I have like 30 different sugar-free flavor syrups.
I know every day you like post your thing. You know what's funny? I used to have a lot of those syrups, but because I would use them for making protein ice cream and the Ninja Creamy, and they make
Oh, I never
good.
got the Ninja Creamy. I never got behind that.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, they make good flavor additions to your ice cream.
I like them too. Well, I'm gonna sound like a total crazy bodybuilder now, but I like to put like a pump in my egg whites a lot of times because a lot of times I'll just drink them instead of cook them.
I used to do that all the time when I was competing, all the time. Like, and sometimes
For
if I didn't have like the coffee flavorings, I would just do vanilla and sweetener, like a
hmm
little vanilla extract, some sweetener, and I would like froth up my egg whites and just drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sugar-free chocolate syrup with egg whites. That's
Oh,
good.
but you know what? So there's this guy bodybuilder that I follow, and he takes like a carton, like a whole carton of egg whites, and he squirts in like the chocolate syrup and shakes
Yeah.
it, and then just drinks that every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, for me, I was drinking like 5 or 6 ounces, not the whole fucking jug, but go on with your bad self.
I used to, when I would do it, usually it would be like 250 grams, right? So maybe like
Yeah,
half of a
not
small
a lot.
container, not the entire container. But
I'm
I used to
in the
always tell
shake
my
too.
clients to is just if they were doing protein shakes to add some liquid egg whites because I mean they're pasteurized, whatever, but it adds extra protein into your shake and then it just makes the shake more creamy when you're like
I was
blending
just
it.
gonna say that. So Brian is like, I'm convinced that's what they do in milkshakes is they add in like egg whites or whatever. He's like, because it tastes
Probably
the same.
do. Yeah.
And so he puts it, and he's like not a bodybuilder at all. And he puts egg whites in his shakes now too. He has a protein shake every day and he pours egg whites in there. I'm like,
Yeah. It makes it so much
bro.
easier.
Okay. But it makes it frothier and creamier. And the same way that I would use egg whites in my coffee in prep is I would like
Yeah.
froth them up and then pour them over the top. It was like a cold foam on top of my Americano.
There you go. Yeah. Egg
We're
whites, they're versatile, I tell you.
They're so good. Man, oh man. What else do we want to talk about? Oh, you know what? I had this really cool conversation that I've had like on repeat for the past 2 weeks, and I don't know if it's been coming up for you and your clients at all. But I was talking to this one girl in the gym, and she's, roughly my age, and she was like, I just want, to look like you, and I'm trying to look like you by December. She's the one that I was talking to.
Oh
Started asking her like what she was doing. She said she had her macros set at 1,200 calories a day,
my God.
and she didn't spend them all every day. She usually ended at like 1,000 calories a day,
Oh my
and she was
God.
trying to grow muscle and lose fat. And so I had this whole conversation with her, but I felt like I was repeating myself because I've had this so many times in the last 2 weeks. So I thought it would be a good topic of like, you have to have goals and timelines, like a time bound goal. Like, I'm going to cut for X amount of weeks. And then your focus is on cutting and watching the scale drop. And that's the focus. So then you can't get mad at yourself if you're like, oh, my pumps aren't great, or I'm not adding size to my glutes, or I'm not growing wherever. And then on the flip side, you have to have a goal of like, okay, I'm going to eat at maintenance and I'm going to improve my composition. Then you can't get mad when the scale doesn't go down or when your waist doesn't, change drastically. Like, you have to have the appropriate goal with your expectations, because otherwise I'm like, so you're just spinning your wheels and you feel like a failure every single day. Because she's like, she's like, the scale's going up and down. I haven't seen a lot of progress. I'm like, because your body's confused. You're not
Yeah.
feeding it. You're telling me you're trying to grow muscle and also lose fat at the same time, and you're 40 years old
Yeah.
at
And
1,200 calories
creating a
or 1,000.
metabolic shitstorm.
yeah. And I was like, man, like this is
And I think that's like I've had this conversation a lot recently as well too with like people that are like, oh, well, I'm training really hard and I'm eating 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 calories, pick some stupidly low number. And I'm trying to build muscle and lose fat. I'm like, well, you can't build muscle in a deficit. One, like let's just put that out there, unless you are
unless you're
some
a
sort of
genetic freak
genetic
or on
freak
some compounds.
or on steroids, you are not going, and even at that, even if you're on steroids, you're not really going to be building good quality muscle in a calorie deficit, right? Like it helps. It's going to help you more to maintain the lean mass that you have instead of catabolizing it by under eating and starving yourself. But there's still not magic. Like let's clear that up. Um,
Do a
but
whole other podcast on that.
yeah, that's another story. But in reality, like you are not going to build muscle on 1,200 calories or 1,500 calories or anything like that, right? And it's like we have to stop treating, I don't
Exactly.
know
No.
who started this, when they started it, but it's like just because you're lifting weights doesn't mean you're going to build muscle. You need the nutrition to support it. And we
And the
have to,
recovery.
yeah, and the recovery and, all the other things.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I know you know that, but I'm just saying it
yeah.
out loud for all of my girls that are like, oh, no, you need your sleep, boo boo. Like,
Yeah, and that I would say is like one of the most important things, sleep, recovery. You're not training 6 days a week, 7 days a week, doing double sessions, right? And starving yourself and thinking that you're going to build muscle and lose body fat. Like all your body's going to do is be like, holy shit, we're stressed the fuck out. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here and like try to
try my best to
store
hold the line.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's what creates metabolic dysfunction is these wild fucking protocols that people come up with.
And and two, I mean, it's not only metabolic dysfunction and internal and probably some gut health from just slow digestion and downregulated digestive enzymes and biles and acids and all the things are going to affect your gut. And then next thing you know, you're not pooping every day and all the issues. But the even bigger component is the mental freaking stir fry that you're going through every single day because you're getting on the scale and you don't have like a clear goal. Are you trying to build muscle because the scale should go up, or are you trying to lose fat because the scale should go down? Like where are your markers? Where's your like where's your goalpost here? Like what are we trying to go after? And then two, you could see the scale go down and then feel like a failure because your glutes aren't growing. Or you could have, some your jeans not fit anymore, then you panic because you're like, oh great, now I'm getting fat, when really you're growing a dump truck. So it's like you can't all this
Yeah.
conflicting and you're just confusing the shit out of yourself to where you're always disappointed and you never
Yeah.
feel like you're getting those wins. So you
And
have
you
to
have
have
to
a
decide
timeline.
like what is the goal, right? If
Right.
the goal is to be lean and toned, that means more muscular. So the goal should be to start with building muscle, and in that journey, you're going to improve body composition, even if the goal isn't just fat loss and seeing the scale go down. Right? But like you got to start somewhere and you got to define what the goal is because like most people that want to be toned don't have the muscle mass to actually be toned, right? So they're dieting down to nothing, they're becoming skinny fat. They're not going to
I've
get
been there.
yeah, we all have, and like and then you have to decide like when you define the goal, you have to be comfortable with the outcome of that goal, right? Like I have one client, she has wanted to get jacked for decades now, but she's always done exactly what we're talking about in terms of being in a calorie deficit and training hard. So of course she's never built the muscle. And now, we've been working together for it's actually our 2-year anniversary today. So if she watches this,
Oh,
she's gonna know who I'm talking about.
anniversary.
Yeah. And she's absolutely amazing. I love her to pieces, but we've had to spend a lot of time healing the body, through the gut health issues and all of that that comes from the overtraining and undereating and all of that. And now we're on our Operation Python. We're trying to grow muscle. And like her big thing is the scale because she knows when that scale starts going up, it's going to freak her out. And so that's something that we're working on a lot mentally and with nervous system regulation and all of that. Um, because like you have to be comfortable with that. You have to be
That's an
comfortable with seeing
outcome
the
of your
scale.
goal.
Yeah, with seeing that scale go up. And like she has no body fat to lose. She has absolutely I couldn't drop more weight off of her. She has no body fat to lose. We just have things to gain. And so, through this, like she's constantly like mentally priming herself to be comfortable with seeing that number on the scale go up. And I think that's something that a lot of people get into this and they're not mentally prepared for that. I mean, if you
Right.
told me when I first started my bodybuilding journey way back in the day, right? When I first stepped on stage, I was under 130 pounds. And yeah, I know. I had lost like over 70 pounds, right? And so I always told myself if I ever got over 200 pounds again, I'd kill myself. Like that would be the worst thing in the world. Well, now I'm always over 200 pounds. Like it's just a very different 200 pounds than the 200 pounds I started with, right? I mean, the last time I stepped on stage, I was 190 pounds. Like, so that's a wild
Shredded.
journey. And if I had still kept that number in my head about the scale and being scared to see it go up, I would have never gotten to where I did with my physique because I would have
Right.
let that number stop me. And
Yeah.
so at some point you're like, oh well, it doesn't fucking matter. It's just a number.
But every single female, some of the men that I've coached too, but mostly every single female has that number in their head, myself included. I've always had that number. And even like going into off seasons, fully knowing I'm going to gain weight, I would have this ridiculous number in my head and be like, oh, well, if it gets to here, I know I need to scale back. But like, what happens is it gets there and then you're like, oh, shoot. And then like you have to be accepting the outcome. And it's
Yeah.
so hard, but all of us have that stupid number. And when I first got into like fitness, I looked at the BMI chart, which because I'm 5'1", says that I need to be like 96 pounds. And let me tell you, I would be dead at 96 pounds. My competition that I did in 2024, I got down to 106 pounds and I looked malnourished and sick, not healthy, not vibrant, not toned. Your girl looked sick. Like,
Yeah.
so to think another 10 pounds beyond that, and that was like my goal is I was like, I need to be less than 100 pounds. That's what I'm doing. Like crazy,
It
crazy,
is
crazy.
crazy. It is crazy. I mean, yeah, I remember like, and this is funny because like my coach at the time when I did my first show, she was kind of old school. And I remember, I think I was like, I want to say probably my stage weight was like 125 or something, like absolutely. And my mom told me I looked like a crack whore. Like I was like that sort of sickly skinny.
Oh,
And I remember my coach at the time telling me, she's like, okay, the next time we get on stage, you have to be like 115 or something. And now I look back on that because at the time I was just like, okay, we got to get smaller. But now I look back on that and I'm like, no, I was the skinny fat girl. I didn't have the muscle because, like, at that time, bikini didn't exist. Like, I was in figure. I didn't have the muscle to be competitive in figure even at that time. It wasn't that I needed to lose more fat, I just needed more muscle. And so, for her looking at it and being like, oh, no, you just need to be leaner, that wasn't the case.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Been there.
Yeah.
Been there, big dog.
Right? Yeah. It's but I think yeah, the biggest thing is like you have to define what the goal is and then you have to let go of the control that that scale has on you. I mean, I remember for so long when I was in my off season, I always had it in my head and this came from I don't know who, different competitors that like in your off season you should only be 10 pounds up from stage weight. And
Right.
I remember so many times saying that to like my coach, and I'm like, I only want to be 10 pounds over stage weight.
Yeah.
he was like, Chandra, you're 6 feet tall. That's fucking stupid. He's like, 10 pounds for you is like 2 pounds for a
For
5 foot
me.
tall girl, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. He's like, if you want to improve, you're gonna have to be comfortable getting more than 10 pounds away from stage weight. He's like, otherwise you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think that's true for a lot of people as well, is like you have these numbers in your head, and like when you try to stick to them, you're stopping from actually getting to where you want to go.
For sure, for sure. All comes back to, setting your goal, but then maybe defining what that goal means. Like if you hit that, what's that going to mean?
Yeah.
If you want to grow glutes, what does that mean? The scale's going up. You can't add tissue without adding scale weight, and just being super clear on it and then reminding yourself every day that like, yeah, this is part of the goal. This is part of the improvement. This is how I know that I'm getting there, and define kind of what the signs are going to look like to make sure that you're on the right track. But yeah.
And yeah,
And
to give
if
yourself
you're struggling, you got to hire a coach. You got to just
absolutely.
commit to hiring a coach. Like to think that you could
Yeah.
do it all on your own at that level is wild.
Yeah. And like for even the average person, even if you're not a competitor, define what the goal is outside of scale numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to look like X, right? I want a dump truck. I want abs. I want to just
I want to
feel comfortable
feel
naked.
strong, or I want,
Yeah.
what I want to look like when I look in the mirror, what I look like naked, or this is what I want to see, change or
Yeah.
improve. Yeah.
Decide what the goal is and then throw out the number that you have associated with it. Because, like most 99.9% of especially women's dream bodies is going to weigh a fuck ton more than they think it is.
I had this one client, she was sending me like her goal body. And she was had some disordered eating in her past and just pretty complicated, and she's not with me anymore. But she would send me her goal body all the time. And she was one that was like would panic as soon as the scale would go. Like I'm telling you, like the scale would be a half pound different, and she would like sound the fire alarms like it was talking her off the ledge. It was like crazy, like as just, and I would every week I would recommend that she got some counseling actually for her disordered eating, because as nutritionists and trainers we can only do so much.
Yeah.
And um um and so she would send me these goal bodies, and I was like, that's fantastic, she probably weighs 40 pounds more than you. And she's like, but she has this, and her legs have lines, and this, and this, and this. And I'm like, yep, it's more muscle. That's what you're seeing. She has more muscle. You have no muscle. You have no body fat, but you also have no muscle. Like there's nothing. And
Yeah.
she would send me like these beautiful, shapely girls. I think one time she sent me Issa. And I'm like, she's a wellness competitor, number 2 in the world currently. Like
Yeah.
she probably weighs
I'm
40 pounds
sorry,
more
but
than
like
you do.
most wellness girls are bigger than figure girls. Like they're not tiny. And so many of my clients now, like they have these wellness goals. Like they see the pictures and it's like, have you ever seen a wellness girl in person? They're not tiny. Like
Yeah.
you're looking at the glutes and being like, yeah, that's what I want. And I'm like, okay, but like they have a lot of muscle to have those glutes.
Yeah.
Those glutes aren't booty bands, and that's those are solid fucking watermelons on their fucking ass. Like let's call it what it is. That's a lot of muscle. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
muscle. You're a wellness girl.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to play with the big dogs.
Those girls are way bigger than I think people realize in like
Yeah.
muscle wise. Like they look fantastic. They absolutely I understand why everybody looks at them and is like, I want that. And it's like, okay, but if you want that, let's be realistic about what that takes.
Mm-hmm. And also too, I mean, the idea that you're going to look that way year round.
Yeah. No.
is a little skewed, and I'm sure you had it too as a competitor of people would be like, "Oh my God, I just want to look like you. You're my body goals." And you're like, "Okay, but I don't even look like this 12 months a year. And in order for me to keep continuing to improve, I got to get fluffy, just like you're going to have to get a little fluffy."
Exactly. And I think, something I mean, I used to get that all the time. And it's like, well, I want to look like you. And it's like, okay, but I look like this, I don't know, 12 weeks of the year, like, and like the freaky stuff for a day. I mean,
Right.
really, like a week tops. Um, And so you have to realize like most competitors, yeah, they look fucking phenomenal on stage. None of us look like that year round because if we did, our hormones would be tanked, our gut health would be shit. Metabolically, we would be in such a bad place that we wouldn't look like that year round either. Like
Yeah.
it's just not realistic to say you can look like that year round. You can look good year round, you can look
Mhm.
good in your off season. You're not going to be shredded.
Right.
And you have
Right.
to, I
And you
think that
save
was,
those moments. Maybe for vacation, you drop 5 pounds and then you've got that shredded feel going
yeah,
into vacation, when you keep it tighter, then you have more flexibility. But like you said, I mean, the reason why we can get shredded like that is because we're freaking healthy. Our digestion is on point, our gut health is on point, our labs are on point, like every health
because you have a
marker.
healthy amount of body fat.
Right.
And that's like for me when, because I competed for over a decade. When I my last like few years competing, that was my biggest goal was to have a body I was comfortable in year round. So
Mhm.
getting to the point where I was comfortable not being shredded, but not letting myself get sloppy. So being
Yeah.
in a body that like I liked, right? And so maybe I didn't have six pack abs, but I had an ab outline. You know,
Hmm.
you still had muscle definition, you still felt good, you could still wear a crop top and feel good in your skin, but you were at a healthy level of body fat, right? So I think
Right.
also having realistic expectations of like what you can look like year round is super important.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
But we've totally gotten off tangent and that's okay. Is
I
good.
feel like we could talk for like at least another hour because we have so much to catch up on.
I know, I
We
know,
haven't even gotten into like the really good stuff we wanted to get into yet.
I know, I know. And we should probably, I don't know, maybe another 10 minutes and then wrap.
Yeah. Yeah, because people's attention span is
This is not good. This
not
is not
always an hour and a half.
good. Yeah.
All right, all right, all right. So let's I think we should definitely do a little catch up of your life because we did a catch up of mine and then we went on a tangent. So I think we should do a catch up of your life. And then if you want to save like, kind of like the big story for next time, we could do that. Or we can get in. I don't want to rush through because
Yeah. I think
pretty
we
big
can touch
things
on
happen
everything.
too.
Yeah, we can touch on everything and then, maybe we'll expand on it for next time or kind of go, we'll feel it out. We'll feel it out.
So I was getting ready for contest prep and you were starting to prepare for like a whole other challenge, which I'll
Yeah.
let you talk about that. Because then, I mean, you were training just as hard as I was, but a different goal. I
Yeah.
would say
So
you were training harder than I was.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but yeah, so I am 4 weeks out from my first High Rocks competition, which I'm very excited about.
Which
Uh
I had never heard of before you had started talking about it. So you got to tell everybody like how badass it is.
okay,
Like,
so
it's like the
High Rocks,
craziest shit ever.
yeah, High Rocks is insane. I have come to find out, like, what did I get myself into? But basically, it's 8 1 kilometer runs broken up by 8 stations, right? So you do a 1 kilometer run, and then it's 1,000 meters on the ski erg, and then you do a 1 kilometer run, and then sled push, 1 kilometer run, sled pull. And so you basically, keep doing these 1 kilometer runs in between these different stations, like farmer's carry and lunges and burpee broad jumps and all of these insane things. And so it's really an endurance sport. Um, it's really a
And you're
running sport,
timed.
which
So it's
is,
not just a run, you're sprinting, right? Because it's timed and
well,
to.
you're trying to get a good time. I don't know that most people are sprinting because your heart rate is elevated the entire time you're doing this, like 180, 190, 200, because you're have these like
So you
stations,
have no
so they're
break.
kind of cardio stations, but strength stations separated by runs. And so yeah, it's definitely an endurance sport.
So a kilometer, I just looked it up. A kilometer is
It's
0.62
0.62 on
miles
the
for those of
mile.
us in the United States.
Yeah.
So you're running more than, basically 3/4 of a mile. And then
Yeah.
you're doing this insane time-based strength challenge, but you have a partner, right?
Yeah, so you
Are
can
you
do
both doing the
singles.
challenge or do you take turns or how does that work?
So we have to do all of the runs together, and then the stations we can split up between each other. So
Based off
it's,
of however you've practiced or
yeah,
strategic.
however we decide. So we're kind of basing our stations based on who's stronger at that station, because there's some stations I'm better at, some stations she's better at. So we're kind of breaking them up based on that. But yeah,
So badass training.
yes, a lot of running. I'm not a runner. Anybody who knows me or like
Nay, nay. Chandra is a badass runner.
she's
We
trying.
are going
She's
to embody
trying.
that moving forward. Nay,
Yeah,
nay.
that's
Chandra runs like
true.
a gazelle because she's 6 feet tall.
Yeah. And like
Chandra's a cheetah.
it, you know, it's so funny. I remember like years ago when I started competing, it was probably after my second show. I remember thinking like, oh, I do so much cardio, like I'm going to do a 5K run. Or I think I did a 10K. I can't remember, but it was no, it was a 10K. I did a 10K run. It was the worst experience of my life. I hated it. I'm like, I don't like running. I'm like, I never want to do this again. And ever since that day, I've always been like, nope, I'm not built for running. I am not a runner. If I'm running, it's because zombies are chasing me. Like, I am never going to be a runner. And now it's like, I'm going to be a runner.
And excel. Not just a runner, but a damn good one.
Yeah.
A damn-
It's been tough. Like it has been a tough transition into learning to like running. And so that's something when we talk about how you talk to yourself. Like that's something that every run, I am literally telling myself that I enjoy this. I'm telling
Yeah,
myself that like
have to.
every step is getting me closer to my goals. Every step is, bringing me closer to stepping on a podium at the High Rocks. Like every step I'm learning to love more and more. I really have to like, I have been working on the mental journey with this type of training because it's so different than anything I've ever done before.
Do you find yourself doing like central nervous system regulation, like as you're running to like recalibrate and like calm your heart rate back down again?
So, it was funny. I was having this conversation with my partner the last track workout we did. I never learned how to breathe properly in an endurance setting. And so this is something that I've noticed in boxing and I notice in my running is like I've never really learned how to control my breathing because like weightlifting is very different.
Hmm.
Your breathing is very measured around your eccentric and your concentric of the movement. And a lot of times, I'm sure we all do this where we hold our breath because we're lifting like really heavy. And so when it comes to endurance stuff, like the boxing or the running, that habit of like holding my breath or like not measuring my breathing properly has been something that I'm trying to like retrain myself in learning how to breathe. So a lot of times in running, yeah, I'll start doing nervous system regulation or trying to, or just being very conscious of my breath because I'm trying to learn to breathe properly, if that makes sense. But yeah.
I know, I know for me, so my sister's a runner and she always talks about how like, because when I was in my crazy, like I need to lose weight, I was like, oh, I'm gonna run and I'm just gonna run because runners are skinny and I want to be skinny. And so I took up running. And I would not say that I'm a good runner and I really despised it. But one thing that I remember her saying all the time is you have to like in your mind, your mouth should be taped shut. Like you have to breathe like almost like in through your nose because you're getting the best oxygen and like not like
Yeah.
open your mouth and mouth breathe. And that was the biggest thing for me is I'm like, I can't get enough air in. Like,
Yeah, it's hard.
and
And
she
so
was
like
like, you
when
have to
I
slow down your heart rate. And she's like, you've got to like you're
yeah,
in charge. And she'd tell me that all the time. She's like, you're in charge, slow it down. Slow it down, you're in charge. She was like, your body is going to do whatever your brain tells it to do. So slow it down.
yeah.
She's like, you're in charge. And she's a badass military, you know,
Yeah. I
veteran
treat
and
it
done
very
all
much
the
like
things.
meditation, where it's in through the nose, out through the mouth, right? And so when I'm running, I have to I have to actually like physically tell myself to slow it down, just like your sister says, that you're in control. And I literally have to focus on, okay, in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And it has to be a very conscious thing because otherwise I just start not hyperventilating, but that type of breathing where you're like,
Bonding. Yeah.
right? Like, yeah.
She would also do like rhythmic breathing. So she'd be like, like so many steps you're breathing in, so many steps you're breathing out.
Yeah.
And it worked. And actually I use that a lot in my preps, like when I'm doing sprints or whatever. I'm like, nope, I'm in control of this bitch.
Yeah. It's hard. Like,
So badass. And then you
yeah.
got knocked off your training because you had an injury to your foot or ankle at first, right? What happened
Toe
first?
at first.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. If you
Toe
like
at
had like
first.
some shit happen, was it
Yeah. So toe and then the dog attack, and then I hurt my ankle, which wasn't very long, that injury, but yeah. Yeah.
so toe injury? And
Yeah.
then
So
you couldn't
I
train because of the toe, or you had to be selective of your training?
I was a little more selective of my training. I couldn't run for about 2 weeks with the toe injury. I mean, essentially it was like a sprain to my big toe, which you would be surprised at how much your big toe
Oh,
is used for. And so I kept trying to train, but it's one of those things like you're just making it worse. So
worse.
yeah, so it was about 2 weeks before I could like get back full into my training. And then as soon as my toe wasn't hurting anymore, well, it was still hurting, but as soon as I felt like confident I could train again, that was when the dog attack happened. And then I basically didn't train for about a month. Over
Hmm.
a month, it was almost probably a month and a half because of that whole situation and
Well,
deal
it was brutal. I mean, you just kind of breeze over it like it was, but like for anybody listening, this was like a very big deal. It was brutal. You were displaced. Your
yeah,
body had
so
multiple surgeries. You needed medical care. Like it was brutal.
yeah, so
So,
for I guess anybody that doesn't know the backstory, my dogs and I were in the elevator of my apartment building. We got attacked by another dog who is this 180-pound Mastiff type dog, very reactive and aggressive. It had had previous incidents with like animal control, and so it was supposed to be muzzled at all times, and it wasn't muzzled. I don't know how even the building to this day, I don't know how the building allowed this dog to be in the building. But yeah, it attacked both of my dogs. My one dog needed one surgery, the other dog ended up needing three surgeries. I got bit as well. No surgeries. They couldn't do any stitches or anything like that just because the puncture wounds were so deep that it would have
well, they needed to drain.
impacted,
Yeah.
yeah, needed to drain. Um, so yeah, that was wild because especially with Gravy and her three surgeries, it ended up being that we had to go to the vet every 2 days for a month. We weren't living in the apartment because we just didn't feel safe coming back here. We were living at my parents' place, which is about, half an hour from where I am. Also, it was just easier because of all of Gravy's surgeries, and she basically ended up with like a big open wound in her chest that had like a bandage over it that was like stitched in, and that's why it had to be changed every 2 days. But it was just easier for her to be in a house so that it was easier for her to go out and not have to go up 6 flights of stairs to get outside and stuff like that. So yeah, we were displaced for about a month and a half as well, and so it was quite the traumatic event. And it was just something like my head was not in training at the time. I was dealing with all of that, and yeah, so
So, this happened. So first the toe, we took off 2 weeks, we got right back to training, and then the attack happened, and then we were out for like another 6 or 7 weeks. And then you came back and you had another injury.
Yeah, so I came back and I got back into training, was feeling really good. I was probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks back into training. It was the dumbest thing ever. I was sitting on my couch cross-legged and I went to reach for something and I just rolled over my ankle funny and like strained something in my ankle. That thankfully, like it was a couple days and I just didn't run on it, but I was still training, doing everything else. So I wouldn't really count that as like it took me out, but I've never in my like fucking decade and a half of bodybuilding, I have never been injured. And then like to go through like 3 injuries back to back, I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good.
You're like you've paid your dues now.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I always ask myself, like, what is the universe trying to teach me when this happens? And like for me, I think it was about trying to like teach me a lot of trust and realizing that I don't have to hustle to still see results.
mm-hmm.
I
And
think
that,
that was my lesson, and that
yeah,
there's a lot of power in rest and recovery.
I love that. Do we want to
Yeah.
get into that now, or do we want to save that whole message for next time? Because I think that I have so many questions for you. And also, I know that everybody listening, like I've been starting to share like some of your kind of side project that you're working on, and just that everything that's kind of blossomed out of these
Yeah.
hardships, I think.
Well, I don't know. Do we want to do it now or do we want to save it for next time?
Maybe we just give them a little bit of a teaser and then we'll dig into it next time,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Sure.
I feel like we've led them to the edge here, so we might as well.
Yeah, might as well. Might as well.
But to summarize, Chandra's now 4 weeks out. She's
Of
gonna
high
kick ass.
rocks.
I'm
Of
so
my
freaking
first high rock.
excited, but it's only the first one because you've like stacked multiple. So you guys are gonna be able to follow this journey on.
Yeah,
And I keep getting after her. She needs to share more on her social media. I'm working, guys. I'm working, but she will. Or
I
you'll just
will.
listen every week.
I will start sharing more about the high rocks training. That is my goal. That is my goal. My training partner's been gone all this week, and so she's back today. And so we've like committed that we're actually going to start filming more of our training, like filming each other, so that we can bring people along on this journey with each other.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But because because you were forced to kind of rest and reevaluate and self-reflect and just kind of everything, I feel like I say we, but you've had a lot of kind of big moments, spiritually, emotionally, physically, business-wise, just kind of like epiphanies just kind of happening, or downloads.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like going through the dog attack was something I never expected. I mean, how would you expect that? It's so funny because, like, when I went to Bali and so many people are like, aren't you scared of like traveling alone? I'm like, no, I'm divinely protected. Like, nothing will ever happen to me because I know I am divinely protected. And so when the dog attack happened, I think that shook me to my core because I was like, but I'm divinely protected. Like, what the fuck? Like, how did this happen? Um, and it wasn't that I'm not protected, and it wasn't that, I was being punished or anything like that, but there was a really big lesson in that I don't have to keep hustling and grinding in the way that I was, right? Like, I really think that that was a big part of why that all happened was it forced me to slow down. It forced me to reevaluate the way I was like moving through the world because I have always been a person, and I know you're like this too, where we hustle. We fucking hustle. Everything we do, we will make it a win no matter what, and no matter what that takes us. Even if we sacrifice ourselves to do it, we know we have that in ourselves. And that was something, from my bodybuilding days. I'm like, I don't care what it takes, I will get it done. I don't care if I have to do 3 hours of cardio. I don't care if I have to eat 500 calories. I don't care what it takes, I will get it done. And so this really forced me to say, maybe it gets to be easier than this. Maybe it doesn't have to be hustle and grind all the time. Maybe I don't have to suffer to get to where I want to be, but I actually had to suffer to have that realization in the sense of like the dog attack, right? Like I had to have something that forced me to slow down. And so, obviously in going through the dog attack, I've always been really, really grateful to be an online coach, not only because I believe my purpose in life is to give back to others. Like, I truly believe that's why I'm here. It's part of the reason why I became a volunteer firefighter, because I believe like my purpose is to serve others. And I've always been very grateful to be an online coach because it gave me a level of freedom, right? I had a really good income. It gave me the freedom to work anywhere in the world. I wasn't tied to going into an office. Like it gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of the things that I was looking for in my life. And I never really stopped to evaluate like what happens when I can't perform? What happens when I'm not generating new clients? What happens when life grinds to a halt because of a traumatic experience like the dog attack? And so through that dog attack, I mean, obviously, all of a sudden I started recognizing like if I'm not out there grinding, if I'm not out there hustling, I don't have clients coming in. I'm
Right.
not making
You're
income.
not posting, you're not attracting new business. Yeah.
Yeah, everything just stops.
You're not a ray of sunshine on Instagram all the time, then you're not yeah.
Yeah, and if I'm not posting in my stories every day or I'm not posting, I don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
That literally that light turns off and nobody knows you're there.
And then you also deal with the flip side because I had something happen in my life a few years ago, and I noticed with my clients, because I wasn't posting and motivational every day, they started falling off and then they started wanting to quit, and they're like, "Oh, well, I haven't seen you." And it's like, "But you have your plan, you have your check-ins, you have everything you need from me, but I wasn't like cheerleading the ship anymore." Did you notice any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's energetic as well, right? Because when you're dealing with so much trauma and you're not showing up, that energy isn't leaking into the people in your world, right? And so it's not leaking to those clients that maybe rely on that without you ever realizing that they relied on it.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I mean, energetically, I mean, people start falling off because I can't show up as my 100% best self. And I mean, that's understandable. Like I was still there for my clients all the way through, but like
Course,
energetically
of course.
you're torn, because you're in a different place. But yeah, I mean, our business stops if we're not posting. And that's really sad, honestly. And so that made me really reflect on, is this sustainable? I mean, life is going to happen, things are going to happen. What happens to my income if I'm not showing up 100% every day? And so that's where I found a new opportunity. That's where I found something that generates passive income. And it all ties back together because it's something that allows me to generate income without hustling, without grinding, without having to be on 100% of the time, without having to show up energetically for clients every day. And it offers a lot of security because it's something that's never going to dry up, right?
It's
Whereas,
always growing kind of in the background without you having to push and be this like incredible energy force driving it 24/7 like we do our entrepreneur space.
yeah, exactly. And I think that was the biggest thing that like drew me to it. I was like, I got into this position where all of a sudden financially I was stressed, I was struggling. I was like, I don't know how the next few months is going to go because now I'm in this hole and I have to dig myself out of it.
And all of the veterinary bills, I'm sure we're piling up.
Yeah, I mean, 3 surgeries, appointments every 2 days, like that financial strain was huge, huge.
Yeah.
And then I'm paying for an apartment I'm not living in. I'm paying to drive. it was half an hour each way, so an hour round trip every 2 days to get to the vet. Like, so gas on top of that, like the financially it was a lot.
While not bringing in more clients.
Well, not bringing in money, basically. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was it was a lot. It was a struggle. And so it really got me to ask, like, there has to be something else and there has to be a better way.
Mhm.
And what I really love about this opportunity as well is that the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit, right? Like, most people with this opportunity are generating about $2,000 to $5,000 a month with very little time, 2 to 5 hours a week, like very, very little time. But the sky is also the limit. So if you want to be somebody who's making a lot of money, or, I've seen people on my team that were nurses and now they've quit their jobs and they're just doing this full time. And it's just giving them so much more freedom. And so it ties back to me, to my purpose of being of service, because if I can help people generate financial freedom, that's my purpose, right? Like that's me of being of service to them, because we know that financial freedom, like money in general, is the ultimate nervous system regulator. It's also
Mhm.
the the number one thing that is keeping most people stuck in fight or flight and keeping them in unresponsive bodies, because that financial stress,
It's so much.
it's so much, right? Like, think of all of the clients that come to us and they're like, I can't lose weight, but I'm fighting with my husband every day. We're, 50K in debt. I don't know how we're going to make our mortgage payment. I'm scraping together the money to pay you because I need something to change. Um, and then their bodies are unresponsive because they're in so much, they're in constant stress, constant fight or flight because of all of these other external stressors. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that.
Of course.
Yeah. And so
Sure.
when you think of that in terms of something that actually generates passive income, financial freedom with very little time, and that means that this is going to cascade into creating a sense of security and safety in their body, so then they can actually reach all of their other goals, their physical goals and all of that. Like, to me, that's a win. That is such a
Yeah.
huge.
And I am so excited, and so it's so fun to watch because I mean, you've been really kind of part of this new project for what, like 45 days or so?
Just over now. I'm just under the 2 month mark. Yeah.
And you've already done really well for yourself financially. I mean, I don't know if you want to share numbers or if you've shared kind of publicly what you're at,
Yeah.
but
I think I'm at about 8,500 right now is my running
and
total.
so 8,500 in 45 days and this is just a secondary passive
Yeah.
income stream of income. And so when you first started talking about it, I knew instantly that I needed to be a part of it and we were going to run with it together. And so I'm really, really just excited to kind of watch this entire journey and be part of it, obviously. But I just see so much value in it. And I think that our audience, like you mentioned, like so many of the women in our audience in particular are stuck in this kind of like fight or flight and high stress situation. And so many people, if they had, an extra 8,500 over 45 days, like that would really loosen things up for them. And so I thought it was important to bring it up today.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I think it's so important. And I mean, a lot of the women I talk to, I'm like, they're like, an extra 2 grand a month would be life changing, right? An extra $1,000 a month for most people would be life changing. It would be enough to just take off that stress. And I mean, like, with this opportunity, yeah, the sky is the limit, but like an extra 2 grand, easy, easy.
Mm, yeah, that's happening. Like,
Yeah. th- without trying. And I mean, like, I look at my results in the community and like I'm never gonna like judge my results or anything like that. I am very happy with the results that I've had, and like I am so grateful for it. But I look at these like women coming into the community And they're like, oh, I made, 6 grand in the first week, or I made 14 grand in 20 days. And I'm like these numbers are
Crazy.
mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I think we maybe get into it more next week.
Yeah. And we'll get into more maybe like the manifestation and energetic side of it next week, because I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
It's everything
100%.
quantum.
100%. And I mean, you can't have one without the other. So, or you
No,
can't, I guess you can't keep one without the other. You might be
that,
able to get it
yes,
for a little bit, but you can't keep it.
that
Yeah,
100%. You can't keep it without the other.
I have to pull up my notes.
Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Quantum Body podcast, where we talk about the things that really move the needle: gut health, hormone balance, nervous system regulation, mindset, of course, manifestation, and manifesting your dream reality from the inside out.
Like, follow, and subscribe for all things functional health and quantum healing. Want to go deeper with us? You can find us on Instagram at coachc.wellness and crystal_stretch. Your transformation starts now. Let's rise.